still available. And I was quite morose. I was searching for those shoes everywhere. And that day I had to go to my hometown barefoot without any shoes. And I also learned something. As we are distracted with the externals, with the things that are going on around us, and we don't pay attention to something that is so close to us, then we get stolen away of the very thing that is ours. And today, one of the biggest issues, which because I work a lot with college youth and corporates, the biggest challenge that everybody faces is not inability to act, but the amount of distraction that's there. Constantly people are distracted. You want to speak something and there is a distraction for 5 seconds, and then you forget what you are supposed to do. Once two terrorists, they were discussing a plot, and the waiter came there and he asked the terrorists, "So what are you discussing?" And he said, "We are thinking about how to kill 14,000 people and a donkey." And the waiter immediately asked, "Sir, why a donkey?" And the guy, the terrorist said, "See, I told you nobody is going to care about the 14,000 people." And this is how distraction works. You get distracted by the crow that is sitting outside the classroom window, and the whole thing that is the teacher is teaching is off the window. And what to speak of being distracted by a girl or a boy in your college or in the campus, and you let go of your studies for pursuing something that has to be done later. And there is no problem with distraction, with feeding in so much stimulus that comes through all around us, if we are able to digest it, if we are able to process it. But unfortunately, we have limited processing power. Just like if you want to eat all the food that's in a marriage party, you are there for a devastation the next day. And today, the biggest distraction is through internet, the mobiles. The mobiles have literally distracted students away from their studies, from their careers. And it's a rule in many colleges that you can't bring in mobiles into your classroom or the exam halls. It said behind every successful student, there is a deactivated Facebook account. Unless you deactivate your Facebook account, you can't get over that distraction, which many times becomes more than your main necessities that are there. And how do we deal with so much data that is coming through? So much information is it's coming in, and there is a terminology in recent research called as information diarrhea. Whenever you want to do some research, you just go on Google and there is already so much done, and reading about all of it, you feel depressed. लोग इतना आगे है, मैं क्या करूँगा मेरा छोटा सा research के बाद? And at these times, it is very important for us to actually come inside out, that we filter out what stimulus do we actually take it seriously, to be able to actually deal with distraction. And unless we practice being not distracted, we'll never be able to hear the real voice that is us. Many times we just are hearing the noise of other people, the peer pressure or the social trends, and we just try to follow that. And there are many students that come to me after their engineering wondering, "Sir, I don't know why I did my engineering." And nowadays there is a norm that you should not think about your career till you complete your MBA. And this is because we are not taught to learn our inner voice. Who is it that you are? Because so much of the outside information is being taken in. And there's no problem, as I said, if you are able to process that information. And of course the image is not clear. This is a set of colleagues of mine at IIT Bombay. We're a spiritual group called as Higher Dimensional Science. We are trying to relate Vedic physics and the quantum physics. And This is me. You hardly can see me. But I used to sweat a lot. Now you don't be sweating a lot, but I used to sweat a lot because of a lot of heat in my body. And then after I completed my engineering at IIT Bombay, I moved on to do my masters in Chicago, and I did my masters in quantum physics there. And Chicago, as you know, is a very cold place, often sub-zero temperatures, and in that most of the heat that was there in my body was stolen, just like my shoes were stolen. And then when I came back, of course it's a big story why I came back from Chicago back to Bombay. When I came back, again, I'm not able to see. Can you make out? Maybe the connector, you can just check that out. And when I came back to Bombay, the summers were the happiest because it was very warm, but the winters I was terribly cold. Bombay is not a cold place, unlike South India or North India. It's a very moderate temperature. But even otherwise, I used to always feel cold, and my friends were not feeling so cold. And then one of my doctors, Ayurvedic doctors, told me to drink water from a copper jug or a pot. And I've been trying that for last some time. And this is the first winter in which I was not feeling so cold as I usually feel, whereas my other friends were feeling cold. And this led me to my second lesson, that what we perceive in our life is very much dependent on the perceiver, who is observing. This is basically what quantum physics also says. The information, the world out there is depending on the observer that is seeing the world. So temperature is objective, but feeling hot or cold in that temperature is subjective. Marks are objective, but feeling happy or morose about those marks are subjective. One who gets all the time 50%, when he gets 80%, he is off the cloud. And one who gets usual 95%, if he gets 80, it becomes very morose. And situation is same, but how do you perceive that situation? And that very much depends on your ability to handle that situation. And in this case, because my body's ability to handle heat had grown up, now I can handle more cold than usual. So what generally makes or breaks people is their ability to handle pressure. When there is a pressure of too much food in the stomach, or too much work on the table, or too much posts to reply. When there is pressure, how do you handle that pressure? And there is two sides to it. Don't take more than you can handle. Then in that situation, what happens is you don't grow. If you don't take more pressure, you don't grow. Another is to increase your ability to handle all that you are taking in. And if you can increase our digestive capacity physically and mentally, then yes, we will be able to handle more and more pressures, and that's how we can actually start to grow more in our life. So the second principle that you should all try to take away from this talk is know that pressure is subjective. Many times students, they make some small issue into big thing and they get depressed or they get suicidal thoughts because of the subjective way in which they are trying to magnify the size of the problem. The problem is not decided by us, but the size of the problem is decided by our inner perception. And when these things happen, then how do you take that pressure? During my IIT coaching times, IIT JEE, everybody tries to do. So I had a professor who used to come from Madras every weekend and try to teach me. And this professor in our college used to constantly kind of prod me or bully me, saying that you're not able to see what you're supposed to see. You are drunk. Now I've never drunk in my life, but he used to constantly tell in front of the whole class, you are drunk, you are not able to see. Now I could take that sensitively, that why is this guy speaking like this? But I took it in a very sportive way, that maybe he is right, I am not able to see that way and I should try to go deeper. And when I took those statements, those pressures that were there from the outside from my professor, then I am grateful to that professor who actually opened my mind to be able to think in a way that usually I would not have thought. And that's when I started to get sportive. That take challenges in a sporting spirit. Don't take them in a sensitive way that people are against me, they are trying to plot me. But take things as a challenge. If somebody says, this guy will never be able to do it, don't take it in a sensitive way, take it in a sportive way, and then that's when your inner self starts to come out. If you never like to face challenges, then you will never grow. Your inside will never come out. And as my professor tried to do with me, that lesson I kept keeping with me all through. And when I had to give my IIT exams, IIT JEE, the most dreaded exams everybody faces, and there was another exam that was called as MSET. I'm sure all of you gave MSET. And there are two strategies. For IIT JEE, you have to focus more on the concepts, and for MSET, it is more about memory. You have to memorize so many 100 types of formulas, and I'm not a good memorizer. That's why I took engineering, that's why I had taken physics. So I went with only one formula that I knew to give the MSET exam, that is F equal to MA. You know, there is a funny version of F equal to MA told by a child. The child was said, what is Newton's 3 laws? And he said, first law is, I will not get up from the bed till I want to be in the state of inertia. The second, unless there is external force F equal to MA, which is Ma, I won't get up. There has to be external force. The third is, depending on the force, if it is an oral force, then I will give oral reply, yes mother, I am getting up. And if it is a physical force, mother comes, then I actually get up. Of course, a funny way of saying Newton's laws. And so the only thing I went to give MSET exam was few of these formulas. And I sat there, all these different situations, because my basics, I was an inside-out approach. I derived right then and there all the formulas, whichever situation. And I completed my exam 30 minutes before the time. And then I was wondering what would I do with the 30 minutes. I revised and again completed, and then I got rank 113, which I wasted because I went into IIT. And then now when people see me in this attire, they say, first you wasted MSET rank, now you wasted IIT rank. He said, I just choose the best career at every stage that I come across. So when you are sportive, when you take on challenges, your inside out comes out. And then you are able to handle more and more. But there will always be situations where you won't get deeper no matter how much you try. There is this tree of life in Bahrain. All across it, 2 kilometers, there is no water. It's all desert. But somehow this tree has learned the art to go deeper, fighting against the soil, the sand, and it has roots way deeper, and it is able to get water from that. And this is how you are going to sustain in your life, when you constantly face challenges and challenge yourself. Nobody else has to come and try to prod you. Of course, if you get people like that, like my IIT professor, it's fine. Else, constantly challenge yourself, that's when your roots go deep. And when your roots go deep, that's when you can play a long game in life. There's another set of trees in Redwood Forest, California. These are called as Muirwood forests. These trees are huge, mammoth in size. In fact, the trees are so big, as you can see, at least 8 to 10 people are needed, arm to arm, to cover the perimeter of the tree. And these trees, what they studied is very interesting, is that their roots have not gone deep. We will expect if tree is so big, the roots should also be very big. But instead of going deeper, they have gone wider. The roots have spread across and tried to network, connect with other trees' roots, and they have made a strong network bonding with all the other trees that are there in the vicinity. So we'll face in situations where abilities or areas in which we are not experts, in which no matter how much we try, we don't become that deep. In that situations, we should take support. We should live supportively, take support, use the outside world to develop your inner self. Don't think that everybody is a self-made man. It's a myth that man can make himself. We are first of all made by our parents, by our teachers, and by the society all around us. In fact, whatever has been given is the gifts of God and others, and we have to utilize those gifts to pass on a better world to the next generation. Not borrow from them, but actually give them. And there are many support systems. One of the strongest support systems which I connect to regularly is the support system of God. But there are also the societal support system, the family support system. Each and every person in the college is somehow or other in the society is supporting us in some way or other. When John F. Kennedy had visited NASA Space Center just before the moon landing, he had asked the janitor, what do you do here? The janitor could have said, I just sweep the mop. But he said, I am helping man be put on the moon. And because he was having that I am assisting for a bigger cause, he was happy. And everyone around us is playing some or other role in our life. So when we try to help others in areas where they are not good, and when we also seek support, seek help, then that outside world actually helps us to make a strong immunity. Therefore I say, immunity comes from good diet and a good community. When we are staying in a happy community that actually loves and takes care of us, that actually boosts our immunity. And nowadays, because of the nuclear families that we are living, there is no concept of a communal living. And that's why even health-wise, the immunity is going down. So this is the quote that I like very much by Henry David Thoreau. What lies before us and what lies behind us are small matters compared to what lies within us. That ability to grow, that ability to contribute. And when we bring what is within us out into the world, miracles happen. You have a special gift, each and every one of you. And when you try to be less distractive, shut out all the noise that is there and try to hear your own voice, try to challenge it, try to bring it out, amplify it, and take outside support, that's when you will be a miracle. So to conclude, both in and out feed each other. First of all, shut down try to be less distractive, all the noise that is there. Try to be less distractive in your life, practice being non-distractive. The second is know that pressure is subjective. Try to identify the pressure that you can take and accordingly increase your ability to handle pressure by increasing that inner self, inner strength. The third is get sportive. Play sports, physically also and with your life. Take it as a challenge. Don't get emotional and sensitive about things. That is inside out, that's how your roots go deep. And also like the Muirwood forest, live supportively, help others around you, Don't try to be a self-made man or a selfish pursuits. And I'm sure if you follow these 4 principles, which I try to teach all the youth that I come across, you'll also actually blossom from inside out. Thank you.